Today is International Day of Sport for Development and Peace, the 6th of April, 2021. And this is a day that is being observed yearly. Now, in recognition of the positive contribution that sport can have on the realization of sustainable development and on the advancement of human rights, the 6th of April was proclaimed the International Day for Sports for Development and Peace by the United Nations General Assembly in its resolution 67/296 way back in 2013. On that note, our guest for today is one who has, vast experience in the space of development, yes, and using sport as a tool. No other person than Dr. Bella Bello Bitugu, Director of Sports at the University of Ghana. Also lectured at the University of Innsbruck in Austria for 15 years. He was also the European coordinator of Sport for Development project with Fair Play at the Vienna Institute for International Dialogue and Cooperation. Let me bring Doctor so we can hear his contribution towards development using sports as a tool. I think I was a toddler at that time, but you started this journey. You have passion for one of the readings that you have passion for, development and using sport. You started this not today, a long time ago. But let me quickly congratulate you on your appointment to the Ghana Olympic Committee, and also to the governing body of International Center of Martial Arts for Youth Development and Engagement under the auspices of UNESCO.
Thank you very much.
One man, but lots of responsibilities on your shoulder. I wonder how you're able to pull through.
Thank you. Well, it's blessings. We manage it. We juggle around.
Right.
We manage it and are grateful.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Great. Now today marks a very important day in sports, and we all know how that particular space brings about a lot of people's interest. So, and there's the issue of sports for development, which is actually not a thing that most people out there, or some people out there, should I say, are not really familiar with. It's all about sport, and let's just go get infrastructure, this and that, and everything. But quickly run us through, the concept of sports for development and the role it plays in development.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to your listeners and perhaps even viewers.
Right.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I think it is very creative and innovative to invite a personality to come and talk in order to commemorate the day. That is very good. Now, sport for development is the second huge arm of sports that has developed through modern sports. Modern sport is quite complex, dynamic, and keeps evolving. And many people normally talk of sport development or actually go around sport development. So clearly, sport development is everything that one does to excel in sporting activity, to be the fastest, to score the most goals, to be the best. Sports for excellence.
Right.
So if you think of, for example, the football league or the various leagues, hockey, rugby, and the championships, Olympic Games, World Cups, African Championship, national festivals, etc. That is sport development.
Right.
It entails getting the coaches, getting the technical strategy, getting the psychologists, nutritionists, banking laws, etc. Anything that makes it to excel.
Right.
So actually, just to be the best, to excel.
Right.
Sport for development, on the other hand, is using the platform of sport to address development issues.
Right.
So it doesn't matter which sport it is. It doesn't matter whether you are good or bad. What sport for development does it because of the popular, the importance, the dynamic, the far-reaching aspect of sport. You hear sport every time, you see it every time. It becomes a platform. You have the idols, you have the icons. Anywhere there is sports, there are people. So using that platform of sport, just, if you like, just going onto the platform, borrowing that platform to address development issues. So you try to use play-based methodology.
Okay.
So you go into sport by saying, you know what, I'm going to the stadium, I want to work with maybe Asante Kotoko or Asofok or Arsenal or Manchester United or FIFA or IOC. I want to work with them, or I want to work with a particular icon, Messi, Samoa Jan, Ayu Pele, and so on, so that we can spread any development issue. And the difference here is it is not limited to any particular development aspect. It is for all things that you can think of. That is why we call it cross-cutting. It permeates and cuts across every aspect that you can think of: gender, health, education, water, sanitation, teaching, learning, gender issues, female maternity, etc., etc. You can adopt it in any area.
Right.
And that is why it is cross-cutting, and that is why the United Nations found it important to actually make it an enabler for the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals. The Millennium Development Goal MDG from 2000 to 2015.
Right.
And the Sustainable Development Goal SDG to now. So if you look
2030,
at paragraph 37 of that document, it says clearly how sports can be used to achieve the development, Sustainable Development Goals. So those are the two clear differences.
Right.
One is as an end, I want to be the best.
Right.
The other one is sports is watched and followed by so many people.
So how do we use it
to address development
Fantastic.
issues? The major aspect that you have to watch for sport for development, however, is it must be an intentional process. It is not a by chance thing. So the Kanu thing you were talking of, you cannot consider it as sport for development, even though it is a platform.
It's a
also, it
platform,
must be an intentional strategy.
Mm.
So there are so many sports persons who do a lot of things, and through sports a lot of things happen.
Right.
But for it to be labeled sport for development, it must be an intentional, conscious thing that I'm going to use the platform of sport. Yes, Kanu use his money, his influence, his history, his background, his experience to help and support
with
this
a foundation,
very
right.
marvelous initiative. However, it was not actually using the platform as well. He might have gotten his processes or resources through sport,
Right.
but he wasn't using the platform. Some platform that you can use is, for example, the 2000 AFCON, where Ghana concentrated on polio. 2006 World Cup, building 5 villages for SOS villages, or the various championships we've been having specific themes to address.
Right.
The last AFCON was actually, I think it was about mosquito and malaria and the rest.
Great. That was quite in depth in terms of clarification, sports for development and then sports in development. Very interesting. So now let's narrow it down to Africa, because on a global scale, if we look at the fact that SDGs and MDGs are concerned, we're looking at the global stage right now. Let's narrow it down to Africa. How has it actually contributed to sports, to development generally in Africa? Talking about sports for development.
Yeah, you see, what you need to understand is the Millennium Development Goals, those 8 MDG goals, they were actually designed with a limited audience of stakeholders.
Right.
But the SDGs, which started 2015, if you like 2016, were designed with a broader perspective of audience and stakeholders. That is why if you look at the MDG, apart from maybe NDG 8 about international cooperation, maybe NDG 7, 8 and the environment, there is nothing there that you can say is global.
Okay.
It's more directed at maybe the underdeveloped world. That is why the SDG came, the 17. Everybody, every nation can identify in there. Yes, of course, sport for development. You see, when we talk of sport for development, we are not talking of, I want a development to happen, so I build a bridge here, I build a school here. Sport for development is about character, it's about mindset, it's about the software, it's the lifelong learning. That characteristic, that feature, that quality, that mindset that you are given to be able to go through life and the world.
Okay.
So that is why it is play-based methodology. You teach children about, or the youth about, cooperation, about acceptance, about gender issue, about hygiene, about tolerance, about accepting the other, about ethnic, dismantling ethnic barriers, certain health practices, awareness creation in so many areas. You use play-based method. All that you do is you use play, games, and interaction. Because, you know, if I tell you,
right,
you would, if you don't record this, you might forget about 75% of what I said. If you are lucky, most likely you forget 85 to 90%. If I teach you, and if I show you, yeah, maybe you are forgetting 70 again.
Right.
But if I involve you,
hardly,
you will never
hardly
forget. It leaves a
forever.
permanent imprint, and especially with children and youth. So that is what we do. You know, so it is something that shows as time moves on. It is not something that you say that, okay, football for development, sport for development, they have built a bridge for us, they have built something for us, they have built this. No. We do build those things. It is used to build that facilities and so on, possibilities, schools and classroom. But its main idea is to teach qualities that we deserve in life. I mean, the past 2-3 days we were talking of why should 15-year-old, I think, go and kill 10-year-olds because of money?
Or
why do you see adults in cars throwing rubbish out of the window in a passing car, or they go deliberately and put rubbish into the gutter, and so on and so forth. Certain indisciplinary actions and activities. These are the kind of things that Sport for Development tries to address, to give you a life, to give you a lesson, to give you an education that you can go on to be able to contribute to self and community.
Super. I like the fact that you mentioned that certain actions and things that we do as individuals may, and that is where Sports for Development steps in to actually address these problems. Now let's look at celebrity culture. In terms of sports, you made mention of, you know, Messi, Asamoah Gyan, Pele, and what have you. Now, celebrity culture in Africa is totally different from how it's viewed in Europe. You've stayed in Europe for a number of years, and you definitely know how it is. I am a Messi fan abroad in the UK, and I am tempted to be like Messi. I buy into his ideologies. I buy into his sayings. I buy into his teachings. How does that happen here? I mean, what do you consider? It's like when you use Asamoah Gyan, yes, everybody likes Asamoah Gyan. It doesn't necessarily mean I will do exactly what Asamoah Gyan does. So let's look at how do you partner? What are the things? How do you partner with these sporting personalities to also, push this agenda forward? Talk about sports for development.
Yeah, that is what I was saying earlier. I don't go to Asamoah Gyan. I don't go to Pate. I don't go to Azamati to become an Azamati. That is not the essence. That is not the purpose. The purpose is, you see, the message and the messenger. So Asamoah Gyan, Messi, Pate, Azamati comes now, wants to talk to the children, want to talk some wisdom, something
life-changing.
No, in the beginning, not very life-changing.
Okay.
And I want to come and talk of something life-changing. They will go to him, even if he's just coming to talk hot air. They will go to him rather than come to him because they would want to go
He's
to
a
that.
Star.
Yeah. So you use the platform, you use the message. The messenger is the attraction, and the message that the person gives. That is why, you get me? So I use Asamoah Gyan to say, don't throw that thing out. It's just like advertising. Like, you know, some appear thing, breaking the car, you should drink that thing. And my example is when we were in school, that was the time at the university, that was the time Abedi Pele was rising. I used not to like yogurt, the one you call fan yogurt. And he came one day and said, drink yogurt is good for you. Since that day, I fell in love with yogurt. That was when I started drinking yogurt. So it is the message that they give. That is
but
what
not
it
the,
is.
okay.
Not the personality. No, the personality is what attracts because he's an icon or she's an icon, an ambassador, this and that. But they go there because whatever that person says leaves a permanent imprint and influence. Do you get me? They may want to become an Asamoah Gyan, a Messi, a Pate, a Dede, a you, whatever. They may want to become an Azamati. or whatever. But what they do is, what we do is actually to use the platform. We say, look, this guy is popular.
Okay.
Or when there is a championship, imagine when there is a Champions League quarterfinals or semi-finals or finals, you are sure to be reaching in the neighborhood of 1 billion people when things are normal.
Right.
Those who watch all across the world. And if you have 10 seconds information over there, you are a media person.
Right.
You can imagine where it travels to, who sees it, who gets it. That is using the platform, just like the advert. So you use these personalities because when they say something, people attach so much importance to them, especially the youth. That is what we use with icons. And Sport for Development has done a lot in Africa.
Right.
And a lot, you see, most at times, we call it the implementations happen in the South. And when I started with this concept from the UN 2000 when it was introduced.
Right.
So I had the privilege of experiencing it both in fact, in many parts of the world, but especially in Europe and in Africa. And you realize that most of the implementations are here and they were connected to the MDGs those days where the malaria, the maternity health, the the poverty, the primary education, etc. were more actually here in Africa or in the South, in Asia and Latin America than maybe in Europe,
right.
or other parts, even though they also have their problems and the rest. So you realize that a lot of the interventions came here. That is why 2006, the 5 SOS villages were built in Africa, Mali, Ghana, the Football for Hope Centers, the one in Cape Coast was out of that project.
Right.
At it was a World Cup 2006 legacy for 2010 legacy, for example.
Right.
You see, so you realize that it is these sporting facilities or for sporting festivals, etc., are used to leave legacies. And in Africa, you see a lot of them when you come to Right to Play, when you come to serve, they are doing a lot of things in the schools. Now, there isn't even PE classes. There aren't PE classes in most of the primary schools.
Right.
So Right to Play has come to fit in that, to teach them sport for development and the rest. So it is something that is very popular, much more popular in Africa, even though unfortunately most of the resources come from the principal north, but a lot of more intervention are in Africa here.
Let's talk about Right to Play. You've been the country director from 2012 to 2013 in our base Ghana, and we've seen the likes of Majid Waris, who's a product of Right to Play. So that in that regard, how would I define it? Is it what are we looking at? Because Majid Waris is a big sports personality today. So are we looking at sports there for development, in developing him as a personality, as a sport person, or giving him a life, a sense of direction?
Yes, but Majid Waris's contact with Right to Play has to be defined. What did he go to do there?
Right.
He was not a player there. It was when he became popular. Right to Dream, maybe, if it were a club that he played for. Maybe he played for Right to Dream. I have to check my record.
Right.
For Right to Play, you use icons. Even Essien was used. And the whole of Chelsea was used to support the advocacy fundraising of Right to Play. Yeah, and they used to have it at the back of the
jersey,
Chelsea. In fact, when they won the Champions League, it was Right to Play. I was also that was when I was the country director. So any icon that is used by the UN, by whoever, any icon that is used, is not because of the person having played there or participated or grew up there, but rather they thought this is an icon. Let us use this icon so that this icon can promote or advocate for this, and people or children, the youth, will listen the more. That is the difference. Waris didn't come to Right to Play. If he came,
I think it's rather Right to Dream.
Exactly, Right to Dream. Exactly. Right to Dream. But Right to Dream also tries when they get those people, and I think they have a very relatively quite reasonable policy and the rest. They promote the people to excel in both areas, in sports and in academia. So if one fails, they still have
the
a
other
professional
the other
future.
options to
so
go
the
for.
example, as I was saying, is Waris came there, or some of these athletes came there. If they were very good, then they could combine both. If they were good in one, they can excel and move further, like Waris and others.
Super. Now, we cannot talk about development without peace, obviously. Something happened in 2005, a game between Sudan and Cote d'Ivoire. And I mean, a sporting icon, Didier Drogba, after, the game against Sudan, he actually stood up to appeal to the people of Cote d'Ivoire because of the civil, war since 2002 and everything. So he actually stood there, appealed for the seas of war. Let's put our arms down. Let's come as one people, because this is a line. This is an activity, or this is a space that actually makes people speak the same language. If there's any platform that makes people have that lingua franca, I think it is sports. Now let's bring it down. How has that also been used? Do you think it has been used enough to promote peace in Africa, which would translate to developments individually and of course externally?
Of course it did. Of course it did. It has done. And maybe sarcastically, when you said after the match, Didier Drogba stood up, he actually knelt down.
with the rest of the players. Well, it was more of like owning up, with the rest of the players. Absolutely.
And if you come to my office now, there is a huge picture in my office now of the people attending that, who attended that
particular
match,
okay.
That particular match. And people come amazed at the picture, and then they say, "What is this?" I say, "Well, if you ask me, then I ask you, where do you think that is?" And people go, and then they zoom in on.
Right.
Of course, you see, it has helped so much in peace, not only in Africa. In Africa, it has helped. Look, when the guns stopped, the first thing that brought the people of Rwanda, the various factions together, was a football and volleyball match.
Right.
When the guns stopped, it was these people who actually it was sport that brought the people together in Rwanda after the genocide.
Right.
And you have also seen how, for example, if you go to Uganda, this rebel group those days by the religious fanatic, I'll get the name for you. When they were actually in the rebel movement, it was sport that actually also contributed to these young men and women realizing there is something better than that. If you go to the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and if you go to Angola, it was sport, it was football that brought the warring factions together. That say peace is enough. If you, for example, even if you go a bit to the northern side, when you went to when the war was raging in Iraq, and then there was curfew, guns and armored cars, wherever. When they won the Asian Cup, they defied everything with the guns and came out and were jubilating. It was only football. It was only sport that brought the Israeli and Palestinian kids together to come and share. These are people who are on each other's neck, but sport calms them down.
Right.
The ping-pong diplomacy, that was the table tennis thing at the Olympic Games between the USA and China. When the Chinese bus was late, the US people picked them, and that was, since then, was the thawing of relationship between the US and others. How sport is often used as a political weapon. Hofe Boanye did it. The Rumble in Africa, Mobutu Sese Seko, who was a banger, used that same thing to, promote people coming together and the rest, continents coming together. The 2010 African World Cup, if you like, was Kenako. It is time. It is time to draw the bridge between and among people of the world, among the continent. So it's peace. And you see, what you do not have to forget about peace is not only in the absence of war, of guns, and of fighting.
Right.
There is what we call the negative peace, and there is what we call the positive peace in peace literature.
Okay.
And the positive peace is, at the time that you are, there are even issues of war, of non-existence of peace. If you prevent a certain group of people, because of their religious belief or their ethnic background, for participating, to have access and opportunity to education, to economic situation, to jobs, etc., that is lack of peace. That is also lack of peace. So that is what we call, when that we call the, we call the positive peace. So when you have women, girls that you prevent, that you mutilate them,
Mm-hmm.
that you take their rights out, or you have somebody because a person is a Muslim or is from the north, south,
Right.
east, or is Ashanti, is a chief, or whatever, and you prevent that person from having opportunities, discriminating against the person because the person is black, white, yellow, or green. That is war. But it is in a time when nothing is happening in terms of guns and the rest. So you say that is what we call the positive aspect of the positive piece,
Okay,
in
right.
the literature.
Right. Great. Well, my colleague Hafiz Guno is in the studio with us as well, and I believe he must have, tons of questions to ask Doctor as the submission goes on. Very, very insightful, and believe me, we've been talking to Dr. Bella Bitugu, Director of Sports at the University of Ghana, and he's shedding in-depth lights on the issue of sport development. Back in the days when I used to know that, let's just build a hospital for the people and name it, from the... Oh, yeah, back in the days, right? But clarity, it's not just about the structures, but also the mentality, the behavior,
mindset,
how you also carry yourself, right? And very interesting submissions there by Doctor. But then, Hafiz, engage with Doctor.
Doctor, thank you very much for passing through. We are honored to have you here. We are honored.
I'm humbled to be here too. Thank you very much for
the knowledge. The knowledge
vast,
is vast. Is vast. I was planning on asking him 2 questions, and just in 10, 15 words he uttered, he answered
he
it
included
first.
it. So exactly.
That's how deep it is.
Super.
Because
Exactly.
I was intending on asking him if, since we are talking about sports for development, we are essentially, per what he has said, looking at the unique attributes of sports, using it, like borrowing his words, borrowing sports to address issues. So I was just trying to understand if indeed, by default, does that mean every sports program serves the purposes of development and sports? But I think he said it has to be intentional. So
Right.
he basically addressed that. So it's not something I want to bring up.
So skip to the next.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's completely unrelated to the first. But my question is quite simple, really. Now, you mentioned the use of models, the use of ambassadors in trying to engage, get people to buy into a certain, idea and mold mindsets and everything, sports for development. Now, we've seen certain personalities, listen, when they've used them, now, somewhere along the line in their career, they go off the rails. And by that, sometimes they engage in certain behaviors that are not exemplary. So, for instance, if you talk about, say, someone like Oscar Pistorius in South Africa, we saw the 2015, his murder conviction in 2015. Talk about Justin Gatling, who enjoyed a good time on the tracks, but we saw the doping issues he was. I'm trying to understand. So, if you use these personalities in, say, as partners in for development issues, how extensive is the damage when issues like this comes up? Does that reverse the gains that you made in terms of sports for development?
Thank you very much. That is a very, very cogent question, a cogent one indeed. You see, fortunately, I think the people are able to discern that at the time this person was A, B, C, D.
Okay.
Maybe that thing didn't come out clearly, and they are not actually struggling with the issue now and say, why is this not a contradiction? This is the person who A, B, C, D. But the thing is, this is what the person did in the past.
Right.
Okay.
So there is a kind of, fortunately, most of the people understand, because if you knew it and you did it,
Right.
like the issue of, for example, when before he did the murder, before he was convicted, or before he did that thing, he was an icon. He was actually my icon, as well, you know. Maybe this very legendary baseballer, give me the name, was supposed to have killed his wife. He got off it, and then he went and robbed a bank or broke into a bank. This African American
baseball.
It was.
I'm not
familiar.
familiar.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not familiar.
Don't
Baseball
worry.
fan.
It's okay.
I'm not huge on baseball.
Yes. there is the name. Is there this guy who was then convicted? He was also our fan, but when he did that, or when Mike Tyson,
Is it O.J. Simpson?
no, not
Okay.
O.J. Simpson. Yeah, O.J. Simpson. Yeah, O.J. Simpson. Yeah,
O.J.
that's
Simpson.
right. O.J.
Yeah,
Simpson.
it's a very popular name.
Yes, O.J. Simpson. Yeah.
Right.
Or when Mike Tyson derailed some of his actions,
Yeah,
and then
issues of rape and all.
and so on, and then he, in fact, the sports fraternities withdrew recognition for him and the rest. There were such instances in the past that happened, but I don't think they would take it against the organization because this person is ABCD. Was ABCD. I don't think that is a problem. The thing is, at the time, and these sports icons, often when they come to the top, you use them, and sometimes they come down and they say, look, I want my piece. So basically, the answer to your question is, fortunately, there are the sport for development fraternity, and those who consume the information are conscious of the fact that at the time the person was doing it, nobody realized this was the contradiction that was going on. So at least at that time it had the impact. And it is something you can always have in life, even amongst us here. What I do, what you do, what he does, the president, the minister, the whatever, you come to know it. As they say, it is when the frog dies that you know the real length of the frog.
Exactly.
So that's so yeah. But it is extremely important to consider that, and I find it even more important to address, because if you want this person to be an icon, the person must display it in many regards, not only in the sporting excellence that the person has, but also character, how the person can be a mentor, how the person can be somebody that people will look up to as a role model and the rest. Not only in the, like there are certain sportsmen and women who you see, you clearly know that they have lost control of so many things. You don't use them for that. You also have to be very careful in selecting the icons.
That all we have, Hafid.
Yes.
Super. Doctor, let's just climax the conversation on, generally, we would need to have more of this kind of advocacy. How do we encourage it? Sports for development in Africa and in the rest, other parts of the world as well?
There are many ways that one can do that. You start with the school.
Right.
Now, when you go, you don't have to teach the children that sport is only with one particular thing in mind, to make money and the rest. It should also be to let the people understand that sport is not only about money, it's also about your life, about your character, your attitude, your Weltanschauung, that is your mindset, how you see things, and so on and so forth. And that we shouldn't ring the bell of sports to only be sport as an end, but we should also try to know that sport is also a means. And we should be able to show it. And you see, when I talk of a child and I say, hey, Mr. Barry, I talk of a child, what comes to your mind? By the time you go to the third thing, you talk of play. Yeah. And look, when you want to teach children, look, what do children do the best? You can only teach children how to play, and children do only play. So if you can instrumentalize that play, if you can use that play to teach them character building, to teach them, certain virtues in life, certain lessons in life, certain things in life, even subjects, mathematics, English, history, you can teach them through play-based methodology. That is the best they can do. Our little boy, Bibi, he learns best when you do demonstrations, when you play, just as any other child. So we need to emphasize that play and play-based methodology are also important for the kids in school, from creche to whatever level. We need to get our mindset changed from play as a waste time or as a waste of time, and also always look at sports from two perspectives: development and for development, a means and as an end, a bridge and as a tool.
Right. Anything you want to top up? That's all. Thank you very much, Doctor. You have really, really filled the basket for us, even though we still have loopholes. But then time would not permit us to continue. But we really appreciate your presence and your knowledge that you've actually shared with us. We really appreciate, and be rest assured that we will bring you back here.
Absolutely.
So we can also look at the other arm of sports development and everything, because it's not just one space, but it's vast. We talk about sports, you talk about everything that comes along with it. Sports for development, sports development as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor. We've been speaking to Dr. Bella Bello Bitugu, Director of Sports at the University of Ghana. And yeah, we will bring him because I'm yearning for more.